All right, everyone, Supreme Kami over here. So it is time to do the alteration review for the 1 to 100 scale Banshee over here. So in terms of Banshee, just at a glance, I would have to say it's not nearly as impressive as I thought it would be. I think clearly the only best part from the set is definitely going to be the head part and then the arm for EXQ, and then all the other one are something we have pretty much seen before. It's just not impressive. I don't even think they're really worth 74. And then in terms of overall stat wise over here, they are actually quite low, despite the fact that they are 1 to 100 scale. But we definitely have seen some big scale that are quite high in stat, and then some are just, this one is actually lower than some of the other ones that are like qualify as a low tier one. But in terms of big scale, it does mix up for the majority bulk, or let's say stat wise. But like, given the fact that we already do have a few big scales out there already for shooting base, I don't see how this one may fit onto the roster that already have, for example, right? So some of the more noticeable ones that are pretty good are like the O right there is actually pretty good. Quibbly is actually pretty good. Like, Quibbly is actually pretty high on top of the list, and then look at that. You're like missing roughly, you're not missing that much, but let's say you have this one already, or you have the big O. I think they're pretty much taking care of like what you already need, so that's that. But in terms of head part, definitely going to be recommending the head part if you guys are able to pull it. You want to alterate it, if that is a 100% and you want to alterate it, probably the best part of the set. All the other one are pretty much going to be, let's say, for subside battery. They're simply going to be enabling you to get that the scale differences, for example. So that's why they are going to be useful in that respect too, but they're not really like the main priority, for example. So let's take a look at the head part right now. So the head part does have some pretty good armor. That's pretty good actually. So melee, so what I did also find out in terms of the melee and shot, they're so similar, but in terms of melee, it's just really not cutting it because the Vortex is just not really suitable for that. Although, you are able to access the alternative attribute, for example, the P attribute, but given the fact that you have to have the P attribute as well, so there's just so many stipulations that is go into it. So that's why I don't think it's qualified for like an actual melee build for this one specifically. So that's why. But the trade wise over here, so this one is going to be a double 40% EXQ boosting. So this one is a very universally boost right here. So that's actually good. That is going to be really good for sure. And then in terms of the condition, it is going to, for your job gauge, you are going to suffer a 40% cut right there. So that is may or may not be good depending on what kind of situation you guys are looking at. So me personally, I already do have the 4-star version of the job license gear already. So that's why I don't really care having like a 40% cut in terms of my job gauge increase over there. But let's say for those that does not have it, in terms of increasing your job gauge, it's going to take quite some time just because it's right here. But if you guys do have the 4-star version of the job gear already, I don't see this one as being posing as a problem. So that's that. Simply really good. So the word type wise is going to be another great addition as well over here. So this one is extremely similar or even the same as the O right here. So what you can do, so let me give you guys a quick example. So what you can actually do, because we are able to access the alternative attribute, for example, I don't have this one alterated actually, so I can't really show you being able to access this version of it. So some of the other word tag that you will be able to access to in terms of you have the newest one, and then you have the oldest or the old one, right? So you will be able to access close combat. So that's actually going to be pretty good for the head part specifically, because like I said again, a double 40% trade EX skill base over here, so you can use it in bulk build no problem. So what I want to show you guys is let me actually remove this one. We don't need this one actually. So what you can do with the head part is I'm just gonna replicate what we can do with big scale the O already. So if we are going to be looking at the O right here, so the O does share the same word tag as, let's say, the Banshee right here. So what you can do actually, right? So we are gonna find the exact same word tag. So you can see, so this one, the second V head is exactly the same word tag, right? Ace of Swords and high firepower. So not only are you getting the scale differences over here, and you're getting the word tag differences, so the 20% right there, and the part trade level over there. So that's why in total I'm getting a 45%. So that's why in terms of this part, that's why it's quite good, specifically for some of your shooting base part right there. So that's why second V is able to benefit from like a 6k sub slot bonus over there. So pretty good right there, obviously. Another thing you can actually do with the O You can actually have, if you have, you can double actually, so you can have one as the main slide. Let's say for example the O, right? So the O is going to be the big scale on the front slide, or however, like obviously the front slide is going to be a lot more stat. And then if you have an unalterated version, right, you can actually subslot the unalterated the O, for example, and then you can get 50% because technically they are the same part but different scaling. So that's why you can do that as well. But that's why this is just a general example for you guys. Simply you can do that for any of the big scale for say with a good word tag or a good portrait, excuse me. So yeah, that is going to be it in terms of the head part. Simply the best part from the set. All the other one are just kind of like, we kind of seen something of the similar already, so that's why they're not really that top priority. So moving on to the torso over here. So let's see what we have in terms of torso. And it's going to be a little bit on the bottom of the barrel. So something along the line of some of the older build project 7-star parts recently got the 7-star right there. So it's just not nearly as good as something like, I don't know, what is something that is good, that is top the list, big skill wise, like Quibbly, definitely really good. You're not really suffering that much in stats, so that's actually quite good. But I would say, you know, the Banshee definitely has a superior word tag to begin with. So if you do have that perfect combo word tag setup over here, like I said again, you can get up to a 40%, up to 40 to a 45%, depending on what kind of EX skill level or portrait level you guys are looking at. So this one is going to be a very generalized portrait that we have been seeing for quite some time already. So simply another EX skill cooldown reduced with her. So I mean, I don't even know how many times we have seen this already from the roster. So let me see if I can just kind of spot some real quick for shooting base specifically. Do we even have any for torso? Actually we don't, because we've been getting a lot lately for melee build, and this is probably quite some time since, oh, this one does have it, but this one is your 20 to 35%, so this one is the superior version for sure. So I mean, since this one is probably the first time we have it for shooting base, so I'll cut some slugginess, so it can be good depending on what kind of build you guys are looking at. But I would warn you guys, in terms of upgrading this one to a perfectly good usable, you would have to, let's say, get up to a portrait level 8, which is still gonna take roughly a lot of XP that is needed. So I don't know how valued it can be to you guys. So if you guys are only simply looking at it at a portrait level 1, only 10%. 10%. So in terms of these types of EX skills cooldown right there, is either you have it at 100% or you don't have it at all. Because like if you only have it at 10%, 20%, or 30%, you're not gonna see like the actual effects of it, just because you're still gonna take a long time to have an EX skill like charging up, you know, despite the fact that you have 30% reduced already. So that's why it's either you have up to like a 80%, 90%, or you don't use it at all. So that is pretty much the best way to go around that. So yeah, this one is not too impressive overall. Stat wise, it's not that great, but you know, I gotta give it some slack again. This is a big skill, so you can definitely make do of it because of a great word tag addition right there. And this one I believe does have access to, let's say, what, close combat, I believe. Let me see, let me check it out real quick. I believe it does actually, right? So it does. So yeah, 4 out of the 5 parts actually does have it. So yeah, that's actually pretty good. So the first part does have it, so we can just assume that depending on what kind of build you guys are looking at, for melee build you can actually borrow that word tag. But I will have to say only the head part really needs it. All the other one are just kind of like just not that good in general. Alright, moving on to the arm over here. So this one is going to be a arm plus an integrated shield. So generally speaking, I really do not recommend using like an integrated arm on the main slot. Simply the fact that you will be losing out on a shield portrait, so that's why that is always not going to be a good scenario. In terms of overall stats, this is not going to be good, but this one being big scale does have a little bit of an advantage. So let's say if you are able to, I don't know, if any of the arm does actually have, this one simply just had to be a subslot. So if we ever, we definitely do have arms that has these types of a generalized word tag. So simply for subslot, you don't have to worry too much about that. So that's actually going to be really good. This one alterating is simply for the fact that I mean, for mixed scale for one, and then for for the secondly, you do want to do a little bit more EX good damage on this one over here. So that's that. I don't really have much to say in terms of the arm. It's just having it on the integrated shield. It's just like, yeah, I just don't like that in general. So that's that. All right, move on to leg wise over here. So leg is going to be another one of these. What is it? EXQ reduced by 23% over here. So in terms of overall stat, you guys can see how similar their melee and then a shot, and then the defensive stat, they're pretty much like near each other again. And the armor for this one is actually pretty good, so not gonna complain about that. So this one does have an ace exclusive at mid range, so I don't think we have any good combo with, let's say, mid range and then high or yeah, ace exclusives. So subside wise over here, definitely your ace exclusive is gonna carry all the way, and then mid range is just not that good actually. It's good, but in terms of the sense of like, oh, do we have any relevant part that is like actually good from this roster? Actually, no. You can look at the Kali over here. That is going to be a build project part, so I don't know how many of you guys will actually have it, so that's why. So in terms of CD wise over here, I'm pretty sure we have a few for the shooting base, specifically for leg. Like we can definitely take a look at, let's say, the Raphael. I think that one is something that came out on a pretty older time schedule. So if anyone did actually invest into it, simply use this one over this one. It's really good. So yeah, that's that. This one is good, this would be big skill, obviously could make a bigger difference. But if you have something invested already, I don't really see a point to re-upgrading an additional port, for example. So this one is just not really that worth it in general, so that's that. It's just unfortunate, right? I don't know why they want to pack a double EXQ cooldown like that, so unfortunate. So moving on to the back part over here. So the back part is going to be disappointing as well, because the EXQ is just kind of like, I don't know what they're thinking. So the EXQ is just going to be a beam saber, so no nothing. So that's pretty sad, pretty boring in this one. So war type wise, again, is going to be ace exclusive and a mid range. So for mid range, you can there's not really that good of an option. Again, you do have the Kali, obviously that is a big project part right there, and no portrait, so you can't really benefit from that. Even the big scale Seda, yeah, you can't really do much of that. Like this one does have mid range, but you can't pair up both the double, or you can't double up on a big scale. It just won't give you that scale difference transfer over here, so unfortunately. So style wise in this one, overall does have a little bit of a lower shot defense over there compared to the melee defense, but in terms of the offensive stat, they are fairly close to each other, so that is kind of good to see. So seeing like a pretty good balance build in a way. So overall, in terms of the Banshee, I just think it's a pretty disappointing, being a big scale. This, like, I know it's a big scale, so it shouldn't have like the highest stat possible, but I mean, I kind of wish that would be like a little bit on par with some of the other big scale that we have been receiving lately. But with that being said, do let me know, how do you guys feel about the Banshee? Are you guys even gonna pull for it? Me personally, I don't really recommend you guys pulling for it. But if you guys are feeling you guys want Banshee, you guys like Banshee whatsoever, maybe. But overall, only the head part is that redeeming factor. All the other part, except maybe the EX skill wise, the arm, those two are probably head and then arm, probably the two better parts to be looking at. But other than that, in terms of the Banshee, it's just not really too impressive. But with that being said, that is going to be pretty much it. And then I'll catch you guys out on the next one.